Guys? Dan Can Reacts here. Today I'll be reacting to the Forgotten Friends spinoff by Infuso. Infuso. I'm sorry if I spelled it wrong. I did remember hearing about the Joey show. I don't know. It's called Joey, but I call it the Joey show. Why? I don't know. I just call it that just to make it easy to say it. But I love watching Friends. I still watch it to this day. But I did kind of remember hearing about the Joey show that was gonna come out, and Friends ended in 2004. This came out, I think, a few months after Friends ended. I know this was supposed to be like a continuation from Friends, where Joey moves out from New York to Los Angeles, and I think he still continues his character as Dr. Ramore and his Days of Our Lives, like TV series. I think in this one he ends up going to Los Angeles, I guess, to get like a big name for himself, and I guess he ends up moving with his nephew, and then I think it's okay. I mean, it's literally the same thing as Friends, where Joey has like, I think it's like 3 guys and 3 girls. It's basically just Friends, but with Joey, and he's making his own kind of friends. And I mean, I can see why a lot of people were like, nah, they were kind of like mid about it, because it wasn't that funny like Friends was. Like, Friends was hilarious. This one was kind of like, like okay-ish, but honestly, I would rather prefer Friends over this one, because I mean, literally all the jokes on that show was so hilarious, especially with Ross and Chandler. They were both funny, and then Monica was also hilarious too. I think in this one, I think some of the cast members from Friends do return. Not the cast members, but like the characters that were on Friends came back in this show. But yeah, this show was okay. I mean, I can see why it only lasted like 2 seasons. But yeah, let's get to this video. The original video will be in the description down below. If you want to check that out after this, be sure to do so. So now let's get to this video.
What?
Why is the volume so low?
Why? My show is dead.
These videos are not for children. If you are a children, then piss off.
Hey there, I'm Infuso.
Well, I'm not.
And as promised,
hey.
I'm here to do what no one else wants to. And that's to review the mostly forgotten spin-off of Friends, Joey. You may be thinking, V, I mean, how bad could this show be? I mean, some people had to want to watch it, right?
Wrong!
Nobody, almost nobody did.
Why does that logo
because this
kinda
show
look
is
like
so bad that they
iCarly's?
actually
Like,
pulled it off
similar to
NBC
iCarly?
before it could finish airing all its episodes. So quite frankly, nobody wanted to watch this.
Yeah.
I want to come clean now. This review is mostly going to be based off season 1 of Joey, because that's the season I bought for $12 at a DVD store in Brooklyn, whereas season 2 is currently selling on the internet for $300.
Are you serious?
And I don't know if I'd spend $300 on a complete series of a show I actually liked, so I'm definitely not spending $300 on a season of a show that nobody did. But I did find a couple of the season 2 episodes online. I rewatched them, and yeah, they're in here. But for the most part, I'm going mostly off season 1. So with that confession out of the way, let's get into Joey. Following one of the most historic finales in television history was one of the biggest follow-up duds. As Ross, Rachel, Chandler, Monica, and Phoebe moved on with their lives, Joey did as well, choosing to move to LA to pursue more acting opportunities. And it's there he reconnects with his sister Gina and his nephew Michael.
Yeah.
The show is made without the Friends creators' blessing, and therefore they didn't actually take part in the series. Though the show did include some of the Friends writers. Apparently not any of the good ones, because the show sucks, but some of them. The tone is entirely different from Friends. The characters on the show, for the most part, are pretty...
Well, I know Ross, David Schummer, I think did produce some of these episodes. I think he only produced season 1. Yeah, I think he did come back for season 2, but half of it. But I think he did direct some of those episodes.
Basic. Joey's sister Gina is the typical no-nonsense Italian woman that your mother probably warned you about. You know, the one The one that will cut certain appendages off should you feel bold enough to upset them? Joey's nephew Michael is the black sheep of the family, an intellectual in a gaggle of idiots. He's nerdy and he's not so great with women. That's everything you need to know about him. You got Bobby, Joey's agent, who is basically every other role that this actress gets. I mean, she's great in it. I'm not complaining. I'm just... If you've seen her in anything, that's who she plays in this. And then you have Alex, who's upbeat, but also really strict. And I don't know. I don't even know if there was really an outline for her character. The job description probably just read, pretty blonde girl needed, bra not required.
So,
it's a weird shift seeing Joey go from part of an ensemble cast to being a leading man. You see, the Joey the show Joey depicted wasn't exactly the Joey fans once knew and loved. I said previously in the Friends video that Joey got progressively stupid as the show went on. So by time he got to the show Joey, his IQ dropped to that of a hamster. They took the already stupefied Joey and they they tripled, they quadrupled down on that. They turned this goofy oaf into a 6-year-old trapped in a 36-year-old's body. Which sounds really illegal, by the way.
Yeah.
Suddenly he's playing with action figures in the hot tub and putting a cape on and jumping down the stairs. No joke here, they actually make a joke that he spends his time drawing pictures of dragons in crayon. Okay, at some point in time,
What?
this just stops being Joey. This is not Joey. This is a handsome Peter Griffin. There were other damning changes to his character as well. Having him suddenly and randomly lose his way with women is a pretty big one. Because everyone who's ever seen Joey Tribbiani knows that there are only 3 integral parts of his character. He's a dumb man, he's a hungry man, and he's a ladies' man. But now, he's still hungry. He's no longer charismatic. He's
No.
lacking any and all charm he previously had. And now he's not so great with women. I mean, I guess they still find him attractive, but he's sort of lost his way with them. In Austin Powers terms, this man has lost his mojo. He's no longer confident, and it doesn't seem like he has any real reason to be either. You may think this opinion is just my own, but even Joey's actor, Matt LeBlanc, has stated that he felt the series completely emasculated his character.
Yeah.
Not only can he not get with women, but he even struggles just making friends. This is a really sad development for a character who's always been a people person. And now, he can't even make the most basic of connections with people. And look, if I wanted to watch a 34-year-old struggle to make meaningful friendships, I'd get access to a time machine and catch up with myself in about 6 or 7 years. When the show does try to give Joey relationships, it's not great. Joey was easily the most promiscuous one in his group of friends. But over the course of a decade, he was rarely ever dating anyone.
No.
Off the top of my head, there was Kathy, who was only written in to do a love triangle with Chandler. There was that one roommate he had whose name escapes me, who was just kind of awful, and he broke up with her because she didn't like his friends. And then there was Rachel. And, you know what? I'm not...
That doesn't count, yeah.
I'm not getting back into that one.
It does not
You know what
count.
they all had in common? None of them worked. Joey had no chemistry with any of them. For one reason or another, the Joey character just doesn't seem to work in a romantic sense. I mean, I could totally buy this dude going to bars and picking up chicks and whatever the young kids call it, but he doesn't ever authentically come across as a guy looking to settle down. This show doesn't change that either. There's a whole will they or won't they thing going on between Joey and his new super Alex, and it just seems really forced. Though I will admit their relationship does improve as the episodes go on. What's even more odd than the Joey and Alex characters having next to no chemistry is the fact that their actors apparently did, as Matt LeBlanc and Andrea Anders actually started dating following the series' close, and they remained in that relationship for close to a decade.
Wow.
Bam, we're done.
What?
Joey just doesn't seem to have a romantic chemistry with anybody, except for Phoebe, and I'm not over this. She was the only one it could have worked with, and you
That's what I'm
cowards
saying.
slept on that. There's also a couple returning actors from Friends.
Yeah.
Except they're not playing the same characters that they did in Friends. Jennifer Coolidge, who played Monica and Phoebe's former eccentric roommate Amanda, is now Joey's new agent Bobby. And she's actually a highlight of the show. I remember specifically being really, really bored by this series when it was on air. Mind you, I was a child. But I do remember paying attention to her scenes. And rewatching it, it's not hard to see why. She is a funny lady. However, it's weird seeing her as a brand new character after she only just made an appearance in the final season of Friends. Adam Goldberg had a pretty memorable guest starring role on Friends, where he played Chandler's crazy roommate Eddie. But now, he's Jimmy, Joey's childhood friend, who's revealed to be Michael's actual father. Again, there wasn't other people you could cast? And while they did have returning actors playing different characters, they also had returning characters being played by different actors. Gina showed up for one episode of Friends, before being recast as a lead in Joey, which is probably for the best. Honestly, I really like this character in the, no pun intended here, sister series. Christina Ricci shows up as Joey's sister Mary Teresa, who shares virtually no similarities with her original actress, from appearance to portrayal. Hell, in Friends, she's actually named Mary Therese. The only other character outside Joey himself to be portrayed by the same actor is his father, who, if you're like me, you know him better as the animated series Harvey Bullock. No kidding. Oh wait, no, never mind, I stand corrected. Look, Hugsy's back. Oh, this show's great. Screw everything else we got Hugsy?
Oh, the penguin.
Joey's episode structure kinda sucks. There doesn't ever seem to be any real struggle going on. It's like all these stories have a beginning and an end, but somebody forgot to write in a middle. There's never any long-term story or even a conflict that can't be resolved within a couple minutes. And that just kind of makes the show feel like it only exists to pass time. In my opinion, Joey's biggest problem is that the show is so uneventful and just overall kind of boring. There's no big picture. The plot is episodic. And for me, that takes away a lot from this show. It kind of feels like Joey, the show, not the person, went through a serious identity crisis, and I don't think it ever really figured itself out. They were right to cancel the series, because it didn't seem to ever find its footing, and honestly, I really don't think it ever even came close to it. Though surprisingly, the ratings for this atrocity weren't terrible. They were actually pretty good considering shows today. The second season of the show was pulling in 7 million viewers per episode. But the problem is that definitely falls short of the 52 million that watched the last season of Friends. In season 2, they introduced Zach, and I really enjoyed this actor who plays him. He had that small part in that Scooby-Doo movie I liked.
Oh, yeah,
he was in that one Friday the 13th movie, had a bit role in Street Fighter the movie. But his introduction to the show is just so random, and it never feels like his dynamic with the cast is ever developed. We as an audience just have to accept that he's there now. At least later on, when not Eddie shows up, they do try to establish him, and despite his previous absence for most of the series, we're told that he has a past with most of the characters. Zach is just thrown into the mix, and everyone just kind of acts like he's always been there. But his role in the show is really symbolic of a bigger issue I have with it, and that's that the relationships between the characters, for the most part, seem really forced and inauthentic. Like they were just written that way and we need to accept it. And yes, guys, I know, it's a show, it was written that way, but the thing that made Friends work and made it so good of a show is that the characters on it had believable relationships, and they all seemed like they could be real-life people and real-life friends. You know, just slightly more sanitized. I'm sure there'd be a lot more F-bombs and just odd conversations had, but for the most part, it seemed legit. In the spin-off series, the exact opposite. Nothing seems real. And to make matters even worse, despite being a main cast member, Zach disappears off the show without a trace. He just randomly stops appearing and is never mentioned again. Now here's a weird thing that I feel like I need to mention it. I'm not offended by jokes, as long as they don't come from a place of malice. And even then I'm still not easily offended by malicious jokes. So when I say Friends was filled with an excess amount of gay jokes, I'm not complaining about it. I'm just stating that those were a thing. If you watch the episodes, it comes up. Especially if you're binge watching them, you're like, huh, they seem to mention that a lot. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, I'm not saying it's a good thing, it's just a thing. Gay was their go-to joke. And like on Friends, the writers of Joey had a go-to joke too. A go-to joke that they made sure to make mention of at least once an episode. Oh, I'm gonna have to bleep that, aren't I? Okay, let's just call it Family Ties, not the show. Let me give you just a little bit of a taste as to what I'm talking about here. Joey's sister Gina kisses him on the lips twice in one episode. It's revealed that Gina and her son Michael bathed together longer than appropriate. In a later episode, it shows Michael being really creeped out as he and his mother go to a hotel together and people assume that they're a couple. Joey at one
What
point
the-
admits to hooking up with his cousin before he knew it was wrong. Gina makes her brother Joey feel her implants. Joey has a relationship with the actress who plays his daughter in the new show he stars in.
Hi, Daddy.
How you doing?
And these are just some of the examples. It comes up a lot, and I'm really not sure as to why. Like, if you made one or two jokes, alright, fine, it is what it is. Okay, it's awkward, let's laugh at it. But this much just makes me think, was somebody behind the scenes venting?
That's
Somebody,
what I'm
those were around at the time. Friends always had a weird issue with the ages of their characters. They just seem to fluctuate. At 1 minute, they're 28, the next season they're 31, who knows? In contrast, Joey has a weird issue with the ages of their actors. Matt LeBlanc went into filming Joey being 37 years old.
Dang.
Drea DiMatto, who I am butchering her name no doubt, played his older sister when she was 32 years old. And Paul Costanzo played her son when he was 26 years old. See, so that setup just really doesn't work. Unless Gina had Michael when she was 6, and I don't like the implications of that statement at all. So I'm just gonna move on. No one, absolutely no one, could or would claim that Joey was either successful or good. Except for maybe Black Friend Allen, but he's friends with me, so clearly this is not a man of taste that we're talking about here. Joey star Matt LeBlanc and showrunners alike all admit that the show was a commercial and a creative failure, made only as a last-minute effort to further cash in on the Friends fame, which is probably why Joey wasn't the first choice for a spin-off, or the second choice, or the third choice. They settled on their fourth choice to lead a series. And let me tell you something, the rule is 3 strikes and you're out for a reason. You should have followed it. The show was a bomb. Now that's not to say that the series has no positives. I mean, the main cast is good together. I could totally buy Joey and Gina being brother and sister. Being Italian myself, I can tell you, they have very authentic interactions.
Yeah.
The accents, the food, it all checks out. Those are my people. The show is mostly well acted, especially by the series leads. And they had some really great and surprising guest stars. Lucy Liu shows up for 3 episodes, and the role's really different from anything I've ever seen her in. It's pretty good. Bob Odenkirk plays a rival actor in 1 episode, gotta love that guy. Carmen Electra and Jay Leno make cameos. Okay. The janitor from Scrubs, the guy from Heroes, Data from Star Trek, Danny Tanner, and Silent Bob are just some of the familiar faces that walk on screen. So, I mean, that's fun. I like most of those people. Also, probably not an important fact, but I feel the need to bring it up here. In the pilot episode of the season, Ashley Scott was actually given the role of Allie. But unfortunately, when it came time to air the show, she was replaced by the Alex character with a new actress.
Why?
And I know that doesn't mean a lot to a lot of you, but the woman was Huntress. Come on, man. Birds of Prey was an underrated masterpiece. Don't at me. I don't want to see any of you slide up into my DMs and say otherwise. You're wrong. And at some point in time, when I have the right amount of footage, I will scientifically prove that. I think the worst part of the show is,
I think that's
it's
kinda stupid
not
that they
really bad.
cast her.
Like, obviously it's not
would've been a
good,
perfect
but it's not laughably
person to play the
terrible.
sister,
There's some
but
elements to the
why
show
would
that
you
could
cast
work, and
her?
sometimes even do. But the show as a whole is just not that interesting or entertaining, which is probably why it got axed 2 seasons in. I don't think most viewers wanted to see the friends from Friends move on with their lives. They were greater together than they were apart, and this show is all the proof you need of that. The series made the strange decision to almost completely forget about the franchise. Chandler gets a mention in the first episode, but past that, every other mention is just a vague tidbit about living in New York. It seems like the showrunners wanted to distance themselves from the very thing that gave this show life. And on some level, I guess I could understand that. But overall, that was clearly a mistake. The show might have lasted a little bit longer had it tried to latch on to the remaining Friends fans. David Schwimmer directed 2 or 3 episodes of the first season. You mean to tell me Ross isn't available to at least make a cameo?
You know what I'm saying?
Courtney
He
Cox
could've.
couldn't visit the set? Matthew Perry was just too busy? Really? I mean, Jennifer Aniston, I get. But come on now, everyone else? I see you, Lisa Kudrow. Don't think you escaped my wrath. What makes matters even worse is that the entire Friends cast were actually up for making cameos. But the people behind Joey were too focused on trying to get it to exist as its own thing, leading to the show's ultimate demise.
Yeah.
What a missed opportunity.
They could have done
I
that.
would have loved to see Chandler or Ross or even Monica show up on the show. As a matter of fact, when I heard they were making a Joey series as a kid, I just kind of assumed Chandler would somehow factor into all of this. And why wouldn't I? Not only were they best friends, but Chandler's character kind of balanced Joey out and sort of kept him grounded. That's probably why their characters shared so many scenes together. You hardly ever saw one without the other.
I know, they
Joey
always
creators
committed
wanted the show
hero,
to
like, they
exist
really
and
were.
survive on its own without friends. But their strong attempts to distance the series from its parent series only alienated fans of the original show. Now, you may have noticed at this point that I spent the vast majority of this review comparing Joey to Friends. And maybe even think that that's a little unfair. But that's the same thing that everybody else who watched the show at the time inevitably did. So while Joey wasn't a complete disaster, it was never going to be able to step out of the mammoth shadow that Friends cast. People would constantly compare the two. And you can clearly see that there is no comparison.
No.
Is it really the worst spin-off of a show? I mean, no, probably not. Probably the most disappointing. I think it's pretty clear that the creators of the show wanted Joey to be their Frasier, but instead this wound up being their Joni Loves Chachi. All these reasons and more led to the cancellation of the Joey series, just a mere 46 episodes in. But you know what's crazy? Was really crazy? It's not that the show was canceled after 46 episodes, it's that they actually let the show go on for 46 episodes.
Exactly,
It
it's
clearly
two
didn't
seasons.
work. Joey was dead on arrival. Yet the network proudly paraded around with the corpse of Friends for another 2 years before they figured out it was just kind of off-putting and they should probably not do that. But luckily, eventually they caught on and this atrocity was laid to rest, which is also a sentence I full well expect to be said during my eulogy. So that was Joey. And I'm the guy who had to watch it. So, now if you'll excuse me, I have to go and rethink all my life choices. Thank you for joining me. See you in the next one.
I can't believe this. How can I go from having 2 shows to having nothing?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Alex Jones, and we are breaking the conditioning. Now look, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm
Oh,
kind of
God.
retarded, which is why I liked and subscribed to the Social Injustice Warriors channel. I even clicked that little bell to stay
this feel
notified.
bad?
You have to look into it, people. But then I began to uncover what I believe to be a secret, nefarious plot orchestrated by Zionist reptilians. Now give me a second. Digging deep, I discovered that he wants you to quote-unquote follow him on Twitter. Now think about that for a minute. What kind of person, what sort of individual wants you to follow them? You know who else wanted people to follow them? The world's biggest Beach Boy fan, Charles Manson. Those who want to show their support donate to the guy's Patreon for exclusive content. Now, why is it so exclusive? What's this guy hiding from the public? What do those Patreons see that the people of YouTube don't? Then I noticed he also has a PayPal, and just for the low price of $22 plus shipping, you can get yourself a SIJW t-shirt, Social Injustice Warrior. So let's put this all together. He wants people to follow him. He calls you VTards. He wants you all to donate your money to him, and he wants all of you to wear the same clothing. So that just
That's
leads
cool.
to ask,
Really cool
what
thing.
kind of a hive-like cult is this man operating? The Infuso, the Social Injustice Warrior.
Okay, oops,
You realize that it was.
my bad. But yeah, I did watch some of that on YouTube. I didn't see the original broadcasting of that show, but I did see, I did watch it on YouTube, and yeah, it was, I mean, it was okay. I mean, I did watch the whole series, and yeah, I can agree, it wasn't that great. I mean, they could have done better. They could have at least brought some of the cast members back, you know, like Monica, Chandler, or Ross. I mean, I get Rachel couldn't because she was busy filming movies at the time, so she was unavailable. But Phoebe could have made an appearance too. But that's the thing, if they could have done that, that show would have been great to this day. It would have lasted at least like almost like 5 seasons or maybe even 7. But yeah, it didn't have the same charm as Friends did. I mean, what I always thought about is that they could have made a spin-off with Chandler and Monica where they have their own family. 'Cause I think it was also mentioned in the finale that they were going to have a family together, and that's why they bought their own house. And what made no sense is that I thought Joey was supposed to move in with Monica and Chandler because he felt left out because he thought that Chandler was gonna abandon him in the apartment and that he was gonna move out and be with Monica at the house until they ended up saying that they have a spare room for Joey to sleep in, or I guess for Joey to move in. And I thought Joey said that he was, but I think I remember that he didn't want to be in it I guess he didn't want to move in because he didn't want to be a bother or this and that. So then they ended up just keeping the house, and he just wanted to, stay somewhere else. I guess he just wanted to move out of New York. But as I'm saying, I always thought they were gonna make a spinoff with just Chandler and Monica, and that's it, with their family. I guess that never happened because I guess they were just not interested in it, or I guess they just didn't want to see that, and they just wanted Joey to get his own show. But yeah, that did not last long. But yeah, that's the end of the video. Let me know in the comments down below what videos you want me to react to next, and I'll be sure to do so. Like, subscribe, and hit that notification button to get notifications or I guess updates on videos I'll be posting on this channel. So with that being said, thank you all for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.